Okay, now that you know that on one side of the jungle is the cow pastures and on the other side is the land of paradise, the first course of action is to make a decision to enter the jungle and when there to stay long enough to make it to the other side. You understand that we're all born with the rhino spirit, but most of us have been trained to be cows. We talked about the fact that only 10% of our entire population will even decide to enter the jungle and only 3% of our population will actually make it across. Okay, where does Murphy's Committee come into play? Well, remember I said that Murphy's Committee consists of a council of 5 who have set up an operation in the universe that will test a person's level of commitment to their dreams, the goals and aspirations in which they're pursuing? Once again, I call them the interferers of magic. Their main job is to see if they can stop as many people as possible from making it across the jungle. Therefore, once you decide to enter the jungle, you better be prepared for some visits from the various council members that exist on Murphy's Committee. You see, all I'm doing right now is preparing you because I know that many of you have your affirmations prepared, you're excited about achieving them, you got your goals written down, but you may not be expecting or you may not be willing to deal with what Murphy's Committee in the jungle has in store for you. This is why it's important for you to know why you want to achieve what it is you most desire. Since I first entered the jungle in 1987, I've seen a lot of people come and I've seen a lot of people go. Some last longer than others, some re-enter the jungle at a later date, but many of them become what I call COJs, casualties of the jungle, never to return again. I mean, they accept the slow-paced mediocrity of the cow pastures for the rest of their lives. Murphy's Committee got the best of them. Let me share with you some of the tactics and some of the tricks that Murphy's Committee may pull on you in order to get you to exit the jungle. Murphy number 1 usually sends your family and friends after you when you first enter the jungle. They try to tell you to return to the cow pastures where it's safe and secure. They tell you that, look, there's a lot of real jobs in the cow pastures, and they warn you of all the dangers of the jungle. They tell you that there's no regular paycheck in the jungle, and by the way, there's a greater risk of disease in the jungle, and there's no medical benefits there. So you definitely want to make sure you get back to the cow pastures to get your medical benefits. And they tell you all of the poor souls who failed miserably in the jungle, and maybe a couple of them are COJs, casualties of the jungle. Besides, none of your other family members have made it to the other side, so what makes you think you can? You may as well accept your existence as a cow. After all, you don't have to take as many risks, and it doesn't take too much to survive. This shot from Murphy number 1 is enough to make most people return to the cow pastures. After all, they love their family, and they don't want to really hurt their feelings anyway. That arrow that came from Murphy number 1 quickly penetrated through their thin skin and did enough damage for them to leave the jungle and return to the pastures. I see a lot of people leaving the jungle for this reason. But some people are more in tune with their rhino spirit. Thus, they keep charging through the jungle. Now it's time for Murphy number 2 to go to work on you. The strategy that Murphy number 2 used on me was to help get me in a situation where at the age of 21, I was burnt out and couldn't pay my bills. He figured that by having my cars repossessed and by sending the creditors after me, that would surely make me exit the jungle. And believe you me, I did feel that arrow. But one of my jungle buddies helped take that arrow out of me. And by the way, he told me that my skin was getting thicker. This encouraged me, and I actually stayed in the jungle because of this reason. Nevertheless, this is a major and highly effective strategy that Murphy number 2 used to make sure people exit the jungle. And sure enough, many of them do. The few that remain in the jungle is laughed at by Murphy number 3 because he knows that his powerful strategies can surely make people leave the jungle. Murphy number 3 plays heavily with your emotions. The strategy that he used on me was setting me up in a situation where I began to fall in love with a beautiful young woman who wanted to live comfortably in the cow pastures. Well, sure enough, situations occurred where I found myself living in the cow pastures with this young and beautiful woman. I even got a job in the pastures. And after a while, I couldn't take living and working in the cow pastures. I started becoming irritated and frustrated. I didn't fit in with the cows very well because they all noticed the horn that was starting to grow out of my head. I simply couldn't hide the fact that I was a developing rhino. You see, most cows have a hard time spending time with rhinos, and most rhinos have a hard time spending lots of time with cows. Rhinos are constantly talking about positive things, about their dreams and their goals, about their jungle adventures, and about the possibility of bringing their newfound cow companion in the jungle with them so they can make it on the other side together. Cows get nervous when rhinos start talking about these things. Cows like to complain about the things that went wrong at work and not being able to pay their bills. And they like to discuss trivial and negative issues, such as what happened on the news or how bad the economy is. The bottom line is I had to return to the jungle, and I really wanted to take this woman with me. But the energy, the excitement, and the risk of the jungle were too much for her. She decided to stay away from rhinos, and I decided to return to the jungle. It was a painful experience, and Murphy number 3 was surprised to see me back. He had did a great job playing with my emotions, and I even acknowledged him for it. But I told him that the jungle is where I belong, and that's where I will stay until I make it to the other side. I vowed to only fall in love with women who were promising young developing rhinos themselves instead of trying to make them rhinos. He was impressed with my determination, and so were the other committee members. You see, only a handful of people make it past Murphy number 3. Well, nevertheless, Murphy number 4 and Murphy number 5 were determined to stop me, and they're going to be determined to stop you as well. You see, getting past Murphy number 3 is a major breakthrough. By this time, your jungle skills have increased tremendously. Your skin is thickening more and more through every challenge you have through the jungle. You become more and more determined to make it to the other side of the jungle. And for the first time, you actually begin to embrace the atmosphere of the jungle. You have even developed enough skills and strategies to teach the newcomers and those who are sick and tired of being cows and are highly considering entering the jungle. You can tell them what gear to pack, what to expect, and how to effectively handle the potholes and the best route to take in order to avoid the occasional quicksand spots. Many rhinos actually use this avenue of teaching newcomers the techniques of successfully making it through the jungle as a source of revenue to support the remainder of their expedition through the jungle. By the way, even existing rhinos come and hear these strategies just to polish up and reinforce their jungle skills that they already have. Okay, let's continue with our journey through the jungle. Several months and possibly years have passed since you first entered the jungle, and you may look and smell pretty bad. All of your family and your friends who remain in the cow pastures are thinking that you've absolutely lost your mind by this time. They just don't understand why you won't return to the security of the cow pastures. Oh well, you're used to it by this point. By the way, your skin is so thick now that it doesn't bother you much anymore. You continue to plunge forward, and all of a sudden you come to a swamp. It stinks and looks like manure. Woo! And you notice that there's no way around it. You must either go through the swamp or exit the jungle. At this point, some can't stand it anymore, so they decide to leave the jungle and re-enter the cow pastures, where they are happily embraced by their friends and family. Everyone is cheering and so forth. They're excited that they returned. They knew that you would come to your senses someday. Some decide to stay at the edge of the swamp for a while just to sharpen their horns before they enter the swamp. And then there's a few brave souls who decide to just go for it now. They step into the gooey, slimy, and stinky swamp and proceed across. The smell is so disgusting that they can hardly breathe. Murphy number 4 is laughing, as well as the rest of the committee. But at the same time, they are impressed because very few people make it to the swamp, and even less than that actually jump in. Murphy number 4, along with Murphy number 5, begin to shoot all sorts of arrows at you in a final effort to make you surrender. This is when everything that seems that could go wrong goes wrong. It seems as if you'll never see the light on the other end. You start to doubt that the land of paradise even exists. Maybe someone close to you dies, or you get divorced after 5, 10, or 15 years of marriage, or you're forced to file bankruptcy, or your house is foreclosed on, or the IRS audits you and takes everything you own, or there's all kinds of things that could happen. Everything that seems that could possibly go wrong probably will. The important point to understand is that this is when you're closest to your goal. I know this is sometimes hard to believe, but believe me, it's true. Just ask any successful rhino and they will surely tell you so. You simply have to understand that Murphy number 5 and Murphy number 4 are making a final effort to stop you. If you persist during this stage, you have it made, because pretty soon they will get tired of messing with you. They'll say something like, hey, you see this guy Jerry? Or just substitute your name for my name. You see this guy Jerry? He's still going. He doesn't seem to understand that you can't get by. I tell you what, he's no more fun. We've been messing with him for months. Actually, we've been messing with him for years. And it just doesn't seem like he's going to get it. So why don't we just go ahead and let him go by, and we'll go ahead and pick on somebody else. All of a sudden, you find yourself in crystal clear light blue water walking towards the beach. It's the most incredible day you've ever seen, with the sun gently bouncing off your now clean rhino skin. The most beautiful woman, just substituted for handsome man for you ladies, greets you, kisses you, and escorts you to your AMG Mercedes-Benz super stretch limousine with personal chauffeur who greets you by name. As you drive down the freeway in the back of your limo sipping a cool glass of Evian water, you pass a few cows. You look at their disgusting face and the sad looks that's coming from them. Occasionally, one would glance at the limo and you read their lips as they say, "Lucky folks." The chauffeur finally stops on top of a hill at a security gate and electronically opens it. you drive past a beautiful 7-foot water fountain.